How's it going, guys?
Hey, I feel the same.
Why don't you do a quick introduction for yourselves for anyone who didn't catch our last episode?
Sure. So I am Tim Lamb. My tag is Snake Eater. I am the Vice President of Operations here at Washington State University and the Washington State University's Esports group. And I head the FGC co-head. Let's say co-head. Yeah. Yeah.
We can say co-head.
Yeah. We basically run together.
And then I'm Michael, and I'm the secretary and event coordinator for WSU Esports and the other co-head of the WSU FGC.
Sweet. So why don't we get off to where you guys left me back in December? We knew that you were doing your Extra Life event, and let's hear about how that went for y'all.
Yeah, Extra Life was a lot of fun. Extra Life was about 2 weeks after we came back for second semester. We were just over in our usual haunt, and as far as event space goes, and we had the main room, which was
That was the week we got back for the first week of winter break.
Was that the first?
Excuse me, spring semester.
Yeah, that
was the week we got back.
So we had a group in the main event that we usually have, and then we had a fighting game specific room. I cannot personally say how well the main room went because Michael and I were in the fighting game room basically the entire time. And that was wonderful. That went really well. We had probably 30 people come through. I think all in all, our Extra Life page, we made $900, and about half of that, and maybe more, was the fighting game community. So before we go any further talking about that, I'd like to give a shout out to everyone who came and the donations they made for that. I'd like to give a shout out to the Killer Instinct community for donating, I think it was $100, and for the anonymous people who donated while watching the fighting game stream. And yeah, that was a great time. The mystery game tournament probably could have run a little bit quicker, but it was a great time all in all.
What was the mystery game?
So we call it the Gauntlet at WSU, but the way that mystery game tournaments work is basically every match is a different fighting game, regardless of who's playing. So we pulled every fighting game we had together. Okay. We have 16 or 18 people in the bracket, and every match, including loser side, is going to be a different fighting game. And we had enough to where there was never a repeat. So I think we played almost every Street Fighter. We played stuff as popular as like Tekken 7 and Soul Calibur 6 to stuff as obscure as like Koihime Enbu, and I think Nitro Plus was in there. Just these really weird, obscure games that no average person has ever really heard of. But it's a great time. It's just very time consuming because you basically got to run it all in one setup.
Did you happen to have Power Stone for the Dreamcast?
Yeah, I would love to have Power Stone. The issue is that we wanted to stream everything, and PS3 has this weird HDCP splitter or HDCP issue where it has it manually built in. And PS4 had that launched too, but now PS4 has the option to turn it off. So if we wanted to stream anything on PS3, it's like Mortal Kombat 9, Tekken Tag 2, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, these older PS3 games like Darkstalkers 2 and 3 that we wanted to run, we couldn't run them because we just didn't have the means of actually streaming them. So we just kept it all PS4 based.
That makes sense. Keep it simple that first time around.
Very upset that they could not run. I think it was WCW versus WWF Revenge or something like that on the N64 because we didn't have the proper tech to run it and stream it. So
yeah, it's time to get that Elgato sponsorship going on.
It really is. Any sponsors out there trying to get the Wazoo FGC in their repertoire, I mean, we're not going to say no, probably. So
help us stream WWE whatever on N64.
Help us stream lots of things that we can't normally stream.
Yeah, there you go. There'd be a first. Get the WWE to actually sponsor your esports club, your fighting game club.
I think we can go a bit more under the radar to keep kind of our autonomy as it is right now. You know, not sure Vince and the crew would quite let us run the show entirely. So
I'd sell out.
yeah, there you go.
I mean,
I'll do anything for money.
Yoko Taro, God bless.
And we have a fellow Coogan chat wanting to say hi. RV Insanity.
Oh.
Ryan Valencia.
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Ryan's is the Rainbow Six on campus at Wazoo. He helps run the team.
Yep. He just wanted to say hi. Make sure he was
Yeah.
known. And make sure he knows
Alright.
of all the crap I was giving the Cougs and saying the feline breed of dogs.
Shout out to Ryan.
Also, if you hear any background noise right now, we are actually currently having an FGC meetup in my house or in my apartment to help celebrate the end of finals. So if you hear any stick clacking and laughing, that's what's going on in there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of a better place to be hosting that. I mean, feel free to drag some of them in just to say hi. That's totally fine too. We're not super serious around here.
We might.
Right.
We just might because actually to go off that note, that's an interesting point where the people who are currently here, one of them was the very first guy to get in, and one of them is one of the guys we picked up later along the way. And they are two of the biggest supporters of kind of weirder, or not even weirder, but smaller, lesser played games right now. So right now, I remember back in December we talked about kind of what games are big. And right now, we still kind of have that same issue of there's maybe a few too many games, or maybe a few too many, or not a focus on one or two particular games, but a few games we've been focusing on particularly lately have been Melty Blood, Actors Again, Current Code, Samurai Showdown 5 Special to prepare for Samurai Showdown when that launches in about 2 months, and Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, which is a great fighting game from last generation that really should get more play, and Under Night and Birth EXE latest, or UNIST for short, which is one of the best fighting games out there, and I think it's currently on sale, and anyone listening should go and buy that game because it's really good.
I think it's on sale on PC at least, maybe still on PS4.
Yeah, it should be on PS4 as well.
I'm assuming Steam.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll look into it.
Great game. It's actually got a phenomenal tutorial for anyone who wants to learn how to play fighting games who may not know anything about them.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It kind of teaches you basically specific combos based on what move you land first. So it's pretty in depth on sort of teaching you some basic combos for any situation.
And I really do mean it when I say it's one of the most fun fighting games like out there right now, and it's excellent. And it is going to be at EVO this year.
Main stage,
because it really is a game that earned its spot, and it is a game that deserves all the attention it gets.
Sweet. And
Yeah.
how about Mortal Kombat 11? That just launched. Any interest on campus?
On campus? Oh yeah, absolutely. So Mortal Kombat 11 came out, and Mortal Kombat 11 looks to be big for a while. But I think my concern with Mortal Kombat 11 is there's a bunch of technical things that have happened in the last week. People have come out with complaints about the grinding system and the Towers of Time, which are problems, but we're more focused on the multiplayer aspect. As much as I enjoy Mortal Kombat 11, and I think as much as a lot of us like it, the biggest problem with it right now is variation system. There's only 2 right now when it's a game full of custom variations that are meant to be messed with. And there was this terrible bug or design flaw or whatever. So for context, I was at Northwest Majors 11 this weekend, which is the biggest fighting game tournament in this region. And Mortal Kombat 11 was one of the games. we had to be in an area where internet was constantly connected because Mortal Kombat 11 has an issue where patches only apply if you are connected online, which is a massive issue with fighting game stuff that is usually offline. So if you were playing Mortal Kombat 11, you had to be on a system that was connected to the internet at all times, or else you were playing an invalid and outdated version of the game, and therefore it wasn't tournament legal, and that created a whole lot of headaches for the team, and it, you know, not great. But
That's
great game.
insane.
I want to give it more time. A lot, so.
Yeah, that's insane. I've never heard of a game reverting back to an old version if you weren't online. I can't even
You seem to be
fathom
cutting
how
out a
that
little bit.
works. What was that?
Cutting out a little bit.
Yeah, I think my mic's having issues again. Oh boy. Or I
Sweet.
was
Yeah,
or I
I
was
got you.
losing bandwidth somehow. How's that?
Yeah, I was gonna say we're getting a little choppy here.
Any better?
Um,
How about now? How we doing?
yeah, a little bit better. Will maybe work. It's taken like a second for delay to get us through, but I think this will work.
Okay. Well, here we go. We'll give it a whirl. So you talk more about your experience at Northwest Majors and what it was like coming out representing Wazoo out here. Or not. Am I missing stuff? Not great cutting
That's
in.
weird.
Ah.
Oh wait, it's coming through 1-1. I think right now. Can you say something?
Yellow.
Yeah. Okay, now we're working again.
I'll take it. So, why don't you tell me a little bit about your experience being out here at Northwest Majors as a Wazoo representative?
So I went 0-2 in BB Tag and in Street Fighter 5, but a lot of what I go for is the experience, which is a lot of fun. So I can speak from experience saying that, first of all, Northwest Majors happened the weekend before finals. So if I could make one
Oh.
request to the NWM staff, maybe maybe schedule the tournament maybe one weekend earlier next year.
Well, that's what happens when they're going around like the West Side schools, which are like all on the quarter system and adjusted. WC is still on a semester system, which is kind of outdated compared to the rest of the colleges. I would have loved to go, but unfortunately, the two finals I was most worried about were happening Monday. So yeah, that was. I mean, there's always next year, possibly.
And that applies to, I think, most of the people on campus. Where I took a poll like a month ago saying, "Hey, I have car space. We can go to Northwest Majors. We can go and have some fun. Does anyone want to come with me?" And everyone went more or less said, "Yeah, we want to go with, but we can't because finals." So I was fortunate enough to not have a final until Friday. So I was able to be there without any real weight on my shoulders. And I brought my Wazoo flag. I to Esports sweatshirt with my tag and everything. And I gotta say, I was kind of surprised by how many people recognized my flag and kind of recognized my tag just because I'd been promoting so much Wazoo fighting game stuff throughout the year on the west side of the state in different discords and different social media platforms. So the recognition was great immediately. I had a few people give me some crap about Wazoo being on the west side of the state, but that's to be expected.
So, aside from going 0 and 2, what was the experience like at Northwest Majors?
You know, the last 2 years have been interesting for Northwest Majors because the venue has been the biggest problem. The players there, the good times had by all, the sets, the games, all been very good, all been top notch, and the team that runs the event deserves a ton of commendation because they run a great show. Chris Anderson and his team really run a great show. Biggest issue this year was the venue. So we were at GameWorks Seattle, which is right in the heart of the city, and that's cool. But the biggest problem with the venue is that it was just too restrictive in that it's not even necessarily a size issue. It's that there were a few parts of the venue that we couldn't move around or change, and that really got in the way of ease of movement and occasionally heating. And the whole thing felt a little disconnected. So at GameWorks Seattle, you have the esports area, which is a bunch of gaming PCs, and that's where Guilty. You have an event space for miscellaneous stuff, and that's where Tekken and Soul Calibur were. And then there's a loft that's right above the restaurant area, which is where Street Fighter, Dragon Ball, and BB Tag were. So everyone was kind of separated, which isn't bad for like chunks of or groups of people who are more focused on one game. But it felt a bit disconnected. The entire area was still running publicly, right? GameWorks is also a bar and a restaurant and kind of an arcade. So people were running in and out and doing whatever that didn't have anything to do with the tournament. And although upstairs the section we had was closed off, but it was just kind of a noise thing. Northwest Majors' venue is probably the biggest issue I had this year, and they just couldn't schedule their typical college venue in where's Highline College? Do you know?
Whoa. I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's like 20 minutes outside Seattle.
Yeah. I heard that Northwest Majors was going to be held at GameWorks, and I kind of just raised an eyebrow, and it's like, how is that going to work? And it sounds like it worked about as well as I thought it was going to.
For sure, with the venue.
So I'm just going to put it out there because Lucky Strike in Bellevue has lots of space. Lots of space for gaming. I'm out there every Monday.
One more time?
Lucky Strike Bowling in Bellevue. They have tons of space. I host the fighting game night there every Monday. Man, so much room, so much space. Everyone should bring out their setups. Oh, man. Testing once again.
Yeah, there you go. We just had some cutting in and out issues.
You've been to GameWorks, haven't you, Raquel?
Yeah, I've been out there for a couple of events, mostly for like streamer networking and stuff like that. That's with the SOBA group, Seattle Online Broadcasters Association.
Yeah.
And like even then, like they get a little over 100 people to show up on a really good turnout night, and
Wow.
that upper balcony area just across from the PC LAN area, like it's just crowded. It's that bar section and then that area by the restaurant upstairs, and it's just like you can't fit 200 people in there for 8 different games. There's just no way. So I knew that the venue was going to be a problem, but that's why we should consider and encourage Lucky Strike Bowling in Bellevue to make sure that they're able to stream next year, and make sure Northwest Majors checks them out, because free parking, lots of space, lots of room for setups. Sounds like an ideal place for a big gathering.
And I think that's a lesson we've just generally learned throughout running events throughout the year, is that space is more often than not kind of the deciding factor, or a very large deciding factor on how well your event's going to run. Do you know where all the outlets are? Are the outlets in comfortable places that make sense for setups? How many steps can you fit? How many people can get in comfortably? How many monitors are going to be able to be placed on different tables? Are you going to need more tables? Space is really something that people don't think about until you're actually at a venue or you're actually in it, and that can make or break a tournament. And I will say, GameWorks is not the ideal location for this year, but they really made it work. They made it work as best they could, and I was kind of surprised at how well they did work.
Well, that's a good thing to hear, that they were able to make it work despite the obvious limitations and layout. So, I mean, it sounded like it was a good time all the way around, and it sounded like all the competition was really good from what I heard about.
Yeah, it was. There were some really great events. Tekken capped out. Tekken had
160-ish.
165, I think, as a Tekken World Tour event. Not even a master event, a challenger event, which is the next level down. But we had, I think, 165 players for Tekken. Had over 100 players for Street Fighter. Had over 64, I think, for Mortal Kombat. Over 30 for BlazBlue and Guilty Gear. Had over 40, I think, for Dragon Ball. Soul Calibur, I think, pulled in around 60-ish. So
30,
we had
30 for Guilty Gear, I think.
Yeah, we had a good turnout for all the events.
Yeah, I honestly can't imagine having that many people there because I've just been there for weekly events, and even then, it feels like monthlies would seem a little bit crowded because sort of the main area they run that they sort of have their streaming setups on. From what I've seen from their stream setups for monthlies, it's fairly crowded. So even if you have the entirety of upstairs, I can imagine it was probably just not really prepared for that many people.
It's not ideal. It's absolutely not ideal.
Well, that sounds like about all there is to say about Northwest Majors, but let's get back into Wazoo. And outside of Extra Life, it sounded like you all had another tournament come out in, what was that, March? What was that
March,
like?
yeah.
Running another event.
So as far as running monthlies and in school, it's a bit weird because we're only here for a chunk of the year. So we were going to run an event in February, and we had people interested in that. But the biggest problem that happened is a massive winter really hit Washington hard, and we couldn't get people on the road to Pullman to they couldn't comfortably say, yeah, we're going to come down, we're going to play, and we're going to compete. So we had to delay that till March, and March's tournament ran very well because we're new event space, kind of going back to the idea of using space well. And it may be our new permanent event space. It may not be. It's also on campus. It's over in our student union building, and it's just a great space. And that ran very well. And we actually brought out a few old games for that. We brought out Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. We brought out Ultra Street Fighter 4. And then we ran our usual collection of games, which is Street Fighter 5, Tekken 7, Soul Calibur 6, BB Tag, Guilty Gear, and Dragon Ball. And that all ran very well. That ran as a good tournament.
So it sounds like space has been the key lesson from the events that you've either attended or hosted this year. What's the next set of goals for those next events that you host, probably in the following school year?
Again.
Damn. What is up with my mic? Testing.
I think we can hear you.
Okay. Well, what's that next lesson? So space was that first lesson that you learned either from. Testing.
Having anything to do with the bandwidth out there?
No, they aren't downloading anything out there.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
It might just be kind of an unfortunate spike in bandwidth, I guess. I'm not sure.
I'm also wondering if my microphone's dying. That may not help the situation.
Oh, yeah, you're coming through fine now.
Probably not the culprit.
Okay, well, where were we?
Coming through, yeah, sounding okay right now.
Yeah, so we were talking about events. Okay, so you hosted events, you've attended events, you kind of learned that lesson that space is a big issue and something to really be considerate of. What's that next thing that you want to improve on for those next events that you host that will most likely be in the next year?
So I think it breaks down to a few things. Number one, and I think this is something that everyone I think wants, is efficiency. As far as time, as far as getting people through brackets, getting everyone signed up and in the pools, to get them all in and say, okay, Here's how we're running it. Here's what we're going to do. Go. Because we don't have forever. We only have about, would you say 8 or 9 hours typically?
Yeah, usually it's like 12 to 9, maybe 12 to 10. So yeah, usually 9 hours or so.
So that's one. I think every tournament can say that for sure. But I think the other big one is we have a few goals lined up for next year, and our two of our biggest goals are just generally grow in size because drawing in new people, right? So drawing in new people on campus for sure, but a big goal of I think both of us is to draw in people from around the state and from the west side, to draw in people from northern Idaho, maybe people from northern Oregon. And the big challenge is giving people an incentive to get out to Pullman in the first place. So that's our big challenge. We would very much like to have some kind of event or tournament with another school, or have some kind of show match or exhibition match or a team match against another school, especially if they're in the state. Like Western Washington has a very active fighting game scene over there, and we've talked with their leadership over there about how we want to cross over at some point. And I think that's our big goal for this next year is draw people in from the west side and draw in another school. Because at Northwest Majors, when I talk to people about Pullman, there's a shocking number of people from the west side of Washington State who have never been to the east side because they just seem to have never had a reason to, or they have misconceptions about it, or they've just never seen it. They've never been out near the Palouse or Spokane or Pullman or any of that. And that, as someone who's lived in Spokane or in Washington State for my entire life, it kind of surprised me.
Yeah, and I mean, I heard a lot about Boise State and participating in the Mountain West competitions that they had a big tournament for last month or maybe the beginning of this month, and it's kind of weird that Wazoo wouldn't be incorporated out there because you're a lot closer to Idaho and Wyoming and Oregon in some areas, and it seems like it would be more of a benefit for you to participate in maybe some of those schools that are closer out east as opposed to having to go 6 hours west just to cross over the mountains and find the five other schools that really have something going on. And I'm looking at the members of Mountain West in the NCAA division. And I mean, you have Colorado Springs, Boise, Fresno, California, Fort Collins, Colorado, Reno, Nevada, Utah, Wyoming. Like some of those just seem like they might be a better fit. I mean, just in terms of ease of traveling, because I know a lot of people just don't like traveling over the mountains.
I think the mountains are a little overhyped, especially during spring and especially during early and even middle and late fall. The mountains get really bad in the winter. So,
Yeah.
especially in November, December, January, February, Snoqualmie Pass isn't super friendly, and it's slow and it's frustrating and it's kind of intimidating for people going up and down the mountain. But as someone who just made the drive, I also TO'd at SoccerCon 2 weeks ago for a couple tournaments there, and I was just at Northwest Majors. So as someone who's made the drive, it's about 4.5 hours, and it's not that bad a drive. So as far as people not wanting to make the drive, I do get it. At the end of the day, it is still closer than Reno or Salt Lake City or Boise. And I think part of getting people over, or part of us traveling, or just encouraging travel in general, is making that first trip and kind of taking that first step so that people can realize, oh, it's not that bad, or it's not that long, or when you have a group of people together, it's not too much of an issue, and it's safe, especially in times when the road is clear. And I think breaking that misconception about how the mountains can be dangerous, how there's absolutely nothing out here, how um, everything you need is in Seattle, I think it's important to do that. And I think it's also going to be a very large challenge for us.
Yeah, you're gonna have to work on the prize pools to get people out. I think what you're encountering is
Oh, go ahead.
I think what you're encountering a lot is the Seattle freeze. Yeah, yeah, we'll come out there. Slightest excuse and nothing happens. Maybe, maybe not. Am I cutting out again?
Cutting out a little bit again.
I hate everything. I hate audio. I hate how my setup seems to fail every time I do
Audio
something
is
different.
frustrating, especially internet when you're out in Pullman and you gotta pay for college internet.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. Well, I mean, I'm paying for good internet, and this thing's driving me nuts.
Yeah, especially when we're in the same state, even.
Yeah, and I don't even know what's up with that. I mean, I was interviewing Glasgow University a few weeks ago, and it was just like crystal clear.
American internet infrastructure, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
It's too big.
No, it's not even countries. It's massive factors. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure.
Yeah, I think I cut you off, Michael. You were about ready to say something.
I don't even remember what I was saying.
We
Oh wait, no.
Getting people over to the east side.
It would be really nice if we could get some more connections with possibly people in Idaho, but it honestly seems like the most, I don't know, like vocal schools about esports seem to be, I mean, there's Boise, but essentially that's the same amount of time to drive that it would be to Seattle, even more time actually,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
that's actually more time. Boise is about 6 hours from us, whereas Seattle's only about
It's
four
like
and a half.
5. Yeah.
Seattle's only about 4.5. So that's a challenge as far as definitively making contact with other schools that aren't in Spokane, because Gonzaga and Eastern Washington are also close. They're only about an hour away, or hour and 20 minutes away. Challenge with those schools is figuring out what their esports programs look like in the first place, and it's
If
you
they
know
have one.
if they have one even, or waiting for them to develop. And so it becomes an issue of, okay, well, does this school have something, or are we going to rely on UW and Boise State, who we know has something but are much further away?
Yeah, that's definitely the challenge for any school that's starting to get pull away from the pack or like really start developing is that you might be out developing a whole bunch of other schools and you have no idea when they're going to catch up or be in a position to even compete or even just kind of support the scene going. So, I mean, that's a struggle that's going to happen for a lot of schools over the next couple of years.
And I think part of that is just time. I think part of that is just having the right people show up at your school, and then just taking it from there and keeping at it. Because I can say from experience that's what we had at Washington State. Washington State was not much of a program. We didn't really have anything last year. Last year was very slapdash and messy. And this year we've made massive strides to the point where next year we are officially becoming a UREC recognized quote unquote sport club, I guess.
Big leagues, baby.
Big leagues.
Getting
Yeah.
recognized.
Yeah, we're swinging it with the same groups as flag football and basketball and whatever other intercollegiate.
If we had a racquetball team, then yeah.
Not intercollegiate. I meant to say intramural on campus.
Well, you got to start somewhere, and it's nice to see some recognition coming from the administration and support. I mean, that's what that means is that they're starting to get behind you and have an interest in helping grow a community on campus. So that's a good place to start. Is there other much news going on with the faculty or administration involvement with having an interest in the club, either esports?
Yes, very much. The one of our student union buildings, our newest student union building, has been very interested and has been very helpful in, let's just say, some developments. Can't talk a ton right now, but come fall, we're gonna have some stuff to talk about for sure. Just generally getting recognized as a sport club gives us new advantages and new opportunities that we may not have had otherwise. And I think just as far as recognition on campus goes, people knowing that we're there in an even greater degree, seeing more advertisements, seeing more support from the school, I think that does wonders for not just the fighting game group, but for the entire esports group, regardless of the game you play. And I think that's going to pay dividends in, say, Counter Strike, where we've kind of had issues with running a Counter Strike team simply because we didn't have the numbers. Getting that promotion out there and getting that support from the school and from other avenues potentially helps a ton in establishing Counter Strike again, or in building. I know that a second Overwatch has been thrown around as an idea. We have two Rocket League teams. We want to build another Rainbow Six team, and Smash. I mean, Smash exploded with Ultimate, and they're doing better than they ever have been before. And fighting games have slowly and steadily crawled, kind of gotten bigger and crawled up the ladder, and we're looking to just keep growing as far as just drawing more people in. And I think recognition on campus and promotion really, really helps in a lot of that.
Yeah, and I think you'll see a lot more success with fighting games going forward. Mortal Kombat supposedly has a great tutorial, so being more friendly to new players, that's a way to interest more people. Hosting your events that are focused on casual and coaching opportunities, I think that's a great way to kind of rope people into giving it a try. But then also selling FGC as that group that has the diversity, which is really appealing to the university as a whole, and finding a way to support that, and just those kind of attributes are really going to encourage more FGC to play and to come out. And once people realize that they don't have to be afraid of getting their ass handed to them and like just coming out and having a good time, I think that's where you'll see that break in culture where people are more willing to come out and play. Which, if this is the way that fighting game development comes out, where Smash can bring in the numbers and Mortal Kombat and um, other games are working on their kind of new player introduction, you're going to see a bigger boost in the next few years for sure.
Are we? Yeah, there we go. On that topic of kind of people not being afraid to get their ass kicked, I talked about back in December. I still think that's one of the biggest barriers is not necessarily people not knowing what they're doing, but coming out and playing and just getting crushed. But I think a big part of how we expand and get people in is kind of the social aspect. And so I can say that right now, throughout this year, Washington State has not been necessarily super strong in a lot of our fighting games, or we don't necessarily have really great players in any particular game or two. We actually have two really strong Tekken players. But as far as getting people to a higher level, I think our big challenge is combining that goal with our goal of being a social platform, of being a social avenue for people who want to come out and make a group of friends, want to get into these cool fighting games. And going back to your diversity point, I think what's really interesting is two of our players that have been to a lot of tournaments have been very active are from Malaysia and South Korea, and they're both Tekken players. And they've been a lot of fun to talk with about just the differences in the ways they grew up or in where they live or in how they got so good at Tekken. And they talked to us and they said, oh no, we are very average at Tekken in our home countries. And they're better than most of us. So it's interesting talking to them about, Korea and Malaysia. Why are they big? How did you get into gaming when you were younger, like when you were 7, 8, 9, like when we were all 7, 8, 9? And I think that diversity, especially with fighting games, is the most pronounced of all our gaming groups. And I think that's a big um, promotional point that we'd like to make clearer is that we want to be this really open, diverse, big group of people whose intentions are to hang out and have fun and beat each other up in games like Tekken and Soul Calibur and Street Fighter.
A worthwhile goal indeed. Just to build out the group, build out the inclusion, make sure everyone understands that they're welcome in that circle. What else? Is there anything else going on? The administration is starting to get involved. You're hosting events. You're wanting to host more. You're starting to think about how to grow and making that a key focus. Any other special highlights that you want to do for other goals that you've got going on, or what people can expect coming into the new year if you've already got plans that far?
As we move out of this current school year, this summer looks like it's just going to be a lot of planning. But in, I think, 2 weeks, we're going over to Seattle, or a good chunk of WC's gaming group is going to Seattle for the Husky Gaming Expo. And the big thing in particular that draws me there is the collegiate league that Capcom is now putting on for Street Fighter V.
That's part of ESPN is running a very, very short collegiate league, which, as well, go ahead, Tim, and tell them.
Yeah, it features a small group of games. I think it's Rocket League and Overwatch,
Yeah,
and a few others. But obviously, the one that stands out most to us is Street Fighter V, where I am not particularly great at Street Fighter V. I wouldn't even say Street Fighter V is my favorite fighting game because it's not. But the opportunity of having fighting games at a more present level in colleges, of potentially putting it on the same level, or at least raising its level to be more the same as other collegiate games that are big right now, or just getting people cognizant that these games exist and that they're really exciting and they're fun and they have large and active scenes, or that they have scenes that are very passionate, if not necessarily huge. I think that's what is really important about the success of potentially Street Fighter V Collegiate League, and that's one of the big things that's drawing me out to Seattle in particular. And just meeting with Capcom, networking, trying to possibly get some things going at Wazoo. Potentially what Capcom has plans for, and seeing if we could get involved with that in any way. I do believe Capcom's North American offices are based out of Washington State, so backyard, not the worst place to look for some people who are passionate about your stuff.
You got to think that one of them, at least one of them, was a Wazoo graduate.
Oh yeah, at least one of them's gotta be.
You just gotta yell "Go Cougs" in the room and see who yells it back.
Yeah, yeah. I guess the bigger question is in the Street Fighter V section at this Husky gaming event. What's going to get the bigger draw, or what's going to cause the bigger stir? Is if someone shouts "Go Cougs," or if someone shouts "Manat is fair," something like that. See what kind of pop you'll get.
I just imagine you showing up on UW campus in the middle of this big fighting game event and you start shouting "Go Cougs," and then you just get all the daggers staring right at you and just being like, no, not in this house, and
Enemy
just
territory.
suddenly becoming the complete and utterly decimated underdog.
You just got to make the venture into enemy territory and see what happens. I mean that is such a big part of fighting games in general, though. Is you see NorCal versus SoCal, or East Coast versus West Coast, or this country versus the world, or even parts of the same neighborhoods or different neighborhoods going at it with each other.
Yeah,
That's just kind of a definitive part of the culture, or at least older culture of it.
yeah. I was actually really surprised to hear during the Dallas homestand event for the Overwatch League this last weekend when people were cheering the Dallas Fuel, but then started booing. I forget who their opponents were, but they were booing the visiting team, and it's like, and some people actually had a problem with that. And I'm like, wait, you're supposed to boo the visitors and cheer your home team. That's what kind of community competition is.
Yeah, and that competitive breed is such a it's a defining aspect of all esports, but in fighting games in particular, it's such a big part of it because there's so much pride on the line as far as one-on-ones go. Right? When the Eagles lose, you could blame the quarterback, you could blame the defense, you can blame the running back, you can blame the coaches, you can blame the weather, you can blame a lot. Even in Overwatch, you can blame the tank, you can blame the DPS, you can blame the support. You don't have anyone to blame in Street Fighter. If you get bodied, you got bodied. Maybe someone was getting loud in the background. Maybe you weren't comfortable, but that ultimately kind of falls on you. And I think that's a big drawing point and a big deterrent points as far as people getting involved with fighting games. And I think that's such an untapped identity or idea, especially with collegiate leagues and collegiate stuff, where there's already these deep running rivalries between tons of schools across the country. I think that's a huge aspect that maybe hasn't been recognized yet, maybe hasn't been capitalized.
Absolutely. And one of the points I've kind of recognized not too long ago is that a lot of people who are getting involved in collegiate esports, they may not have played traditional sports growing up, and so they may not have gotten comfortable with that idea of losing, or that idea of they're not as good as they think they are, and that this is that first opportunity to have it really thrown in their face.
Yeah, and I would argue that fighting games is really where that happens. Where when you go out physically to a tournament and you play someone, and then after the match is done and you get just crushed, it has to. There's a few things that can happen. You could go into denialism and say, "Oh, well, it's because of their character, or it's because of what I ate, or it's because I was tired, or it's because of this." When it's very likely just a matter of no, no, they're just better than you. They're just better at this thing than you. And that's a hard pill to swallow.
The ego bruises easily, for sure.
Yeah, for
Awesome.
sure.
Well, do you guys have any last shout outs or things that we can do to make sure that everyone understands that Wazoo is up and coming and still going strong coming into that next year?
We are going into a lot of planning phases. We're going into a lot of just generally figuring out what we want to do with fighting, or I mean the club in general, yeah. But Michael and I particularly are looking a lot at fighting games. We want to make big pushes for getting people invested or involved, for getting a bigger tournament scene going. So if you're in the region, if you're interested in finding an event, if you are a potential student, if you're a sponsor, if you have any even remote interest at all, come and check us out on campus or come and check us out anywhere you can find us, because we want to be pushing really hard as far as fighting games go and as far as club growth goes. And I think I can say with confidence that we are maybe not one of the few, but certainly one of the most vocal college groups that are really trying to make fighting games big, and they're really pushing to emphasize the core values of the FGC, if you will.
Absolutely. I mean, you guys are by far the loudest I have heard about fighting games in general at a collegiate level. So, by all means, throw your support behind this club because they are here to do business and to make sure that there are fighting games and places to play for years to come. And so, where can people actually reach out to you?
Hype is eternal.
Hype is eternal. I like it. Where can people find you on the social medias in case they have interest in helping out or seeing how they can be involved? I'm probably cutting out again, aren't I? I probably cut out again, didn't I? Yep, I cut out again. Did I cut out? Hello?
Hmm?
I think we're back.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're set.
Where can people find you all if they wanted to get involved or just find out what's going on?
If you want to hear about fighting game related shenanigans and see more pictures of my fighting game flag, of my fighting game Wazoo flag, you can follow me at Wazoo Snake Eater. You can come and check us out at the WSU Gaming Community Discord. You can find us. Do we have a Facebook page?
Yeah, we have a Facebook page.
Yeah, WSU Esports, I think, on Facebook. You can.
We have a Twitter account as well.
We do have a Twitter account that posts some pretty funny stuff, pretty good stuff. As far as just other places, just look up WSU Esports. You can find our Twitch streams and VODs. I'm working on uploading different VODs throughout the year. You can follow me at the there we go. At the Snake Eater on Twitch. Sorry, I just had to pull up Twitch there. Yeah, you can follow me at the Snake Eater on Twitch. My icon is the one with the Wazoo flag, and you can see some tournaments past and events we've had before. And WC Sports on Twitch for all Washington State University related gaming shenanigans.
Sweet. Well, thanks for catching me up on what's going on, and I hope to hear more about your plans as they come together during the summer. So definitely feel free to check back in with me as your things kind of come together, or as the support from the administration comes through, whatever form that is in. I'm happy to hear it, happy to boost the signal and make sure that everyone understands that Wazoo Esports means business, both as Overwatch and Rocket League and Rainbow Six, but then also as the FGC as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks again, guys, for coming out. It was great talking with you, and we will wrap it up with that. And I guess now's the time for you guys to say the thing that you normally say. That wasn't a good lead-in at all.
One more time, you kind of cut out.
What do you guys usually say when you want to support your team and support your school, that you guys probably say louder than any other school that I've interviewed?
Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
Go Cougs. Oh, that was pretty sad.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
I don't want to yell.
I don't really want to shout it. I mean,
well, go get the other guys. Go get the other guys who are in the other room.
Are they in the room? No, I was gonna say we got a shouting. You know, we're taking a break from finals. We gotta get celebratory.
Yeah, absolutely. Drag them all in here. I want to hear them all say go Cougs.
No. They to remind everyone of the core values of the FGC. They all went to pick up someone who did not have a ride because they wanted to play fighting games so bad.
Oh, I see. Well, that's good.
Yeah,
that's real nice of them.
They're gone for a pure reason. They're gone for the sake of the fighting game community.
All right. Well, then I need someone to yell "Go Cougs."
All right. Go Cougs! Go Cougs!
There you go. All right. Have a nice night, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And that's it for the stream. Thanks everyone for coming out. I appreciate you. I appreciate the time it takes for everyone to listen to this. Yeah. Ryan, they totally missed the cue. Totally missed it. I had to call them out several times. It's okay. It's okay. They got it. The FGC group behind them, they were gone for pure reasons, and they weren't there to carry the weight. It's okay. It happens. But next time in the summer, we will hear from them, and they will actually get my cue the first time. So that's it for this. That's funny. That's perfect. Anyways, you guys, I will catch you all later. Next time, look for this cast coming out not next Monday, not this coming Monday, probably the Monday after. I've got some more work to do with some other podcasts. I have the Check Your Six podcast segment coming up, so make sure if you're interested in Rainbow Six, we will talk more collegiate Rainbow Six. I hope to get Ryan back and his crew back in here to talk about their experiences with the league this year, and see where that group is going next year. It sounds like they want to get a second squad in, and it's just sounding like a good time over at Wazoo. But I want to make sure that we talk to Wazoo R6. I want to make sure that everyone understands where the Collegiate R6 League is going as we close out this second season and grow into an even bigger league next year, most likely, and figure out what the hell I'm doing with that segment and how I can bolster the R6 community. Um, I do have a segment planned where me, another guy, Talon, and my buddy Jansen, who's been helping me out with music and audio editing, we're going to be talking about a noob's experience into R6 and what that journey is like. And so we'll be documenting our growth along the way and seeing how we can get better and help each other get better as a resource for anyone else interested in doing Rainbow Six. So that'll be a lot of fun. And we keep going. Oh yeah, Ryan, you're absolutely available to join. I would love to have coaching segments and coaching streams and just hear you yell at us for eternity because we didn't check a doorway or we didn't blow open the right hatch and we were terrible at timing and we weren't watching the doorway. I would love to get in on that or get you in on that, and we will see how that goes. But that is it for the stream. Thank you all for tuning in. It helps me work towards affiliate. It helps me work towards. I did watch. I've caught a few, or I mean, we played a little bit, even though my connection sucked and my performance was terrible. I got shotgun kills with 8 frames a second. It works. Um, yeah, we'll get it done. We'll get some more R6 going. We'll have more summoning our collegiate esports podcast going in. I'm hoping to take some more trips, go to more conferences, work the angles, get some more um, connections going. We'll build up collegiate esports one podcast at a time. Thank you all for joining me. I am out. I will talk to you all later. Feel free to follow me on Twitch, Mixer, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. God, I'm missing everything. Steam, Periscope. It's all streaming live right now. Check me out on Twitter. It has a link to all of these things. And I hope you all will tune in next time. So take it easy, everyone. Later.